podcast.
Okay. That was a good surprise. So if you're listening in your car and this was on full volume, I really apologize for the intro. But today on the show, we've got Philip Hunsicker. Dude, how are you doing?
Man, I'm great. It's a good day.
In addition to Philip Hunsicker, we have Ryan Lerman, who is...
Who is he?
Well, I'll tell you what, he is one of the geniuses behind the brand Scary Pockets. And I say the brand because Scary Pockets is a band, but it is a project. And it is a very a vision oriented content machine. Where there's a lot of vision, there's a lot of great ideas, and it feels like the system to the machine is pretty well run. They're always reinventing themselves, thinking of new ideas on how to capture my heart specifically. So I'm really excited to have him on the show today. He's toured with a couple people before that, most notably Ben Folds, Michael Bublé. He's got a Van Morrison credit on there also, John Legend. And also we talked to him about what his All Music says. That there's a listing called Party Time Karaoke that is on his page, and we don't know what that's from, but I think he didn't, today he denies working with that, but I think that's kind of what got him started financially. So
it's keeping him afloat.
Yeah. You seen any cool animals recently?
Any cool animals?
Have you seen any cool animals?
Man, I've been pretty animaled out. That's usually I can answer that.
How many animals do you have to see to get animaled out?
Oh man, I'm
like at what point? What point do you get sick of seeing animals? Because think about that. Like, what's one of the greatest things to eat?
Vegetables.
Vegetables, I agree.
I set you up for.
But you could start eating vegetables and eventually you'd reach a cap in one meal, right?
Me?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Where you would
move to gluten.
You'd upchuck the vegetables, right?
Okay, yeah.
Are animals like that?
Here we go, yeah.
Like seeing animals? Do you eventually get tired of seeing animals?
I think my brain could get tired of seeing specific animals.
If I have to say one more freaking animal, I'm going to lose it, Do people ever get there?
You see the people when they're leaving the zoo always. They're just
think about that. I don't think anybody ever really gets there. I mean, you could see, I don't want to see another movie. I've seen too many movies. I have to stop watching TV. I'm sick of being in the city. I need to be out in the country. I feel isolated out in the country. I need to go see civilization. I need to be at a restaurant or downtown somewhere.
I've seen way too many animals.
But do people ever reach their cap on seeing animals?
Maybe a specific kind of animal. So if I was somewhere,
what would be the first animal that you just get sick of seeing? Like, golly, if I see another one of those.
Oh man, frogs. If you go somewhere,
that's actually a really good answer.
A lot of frogs.
I would say toads. Frogs are pretty tight.
Yeah.
But toads specifically, toads just don't try. They just hobble along. They're not afraid of you. They don't really care you exist. And then you try to pick them up, and what happens?
Dude, they get that stink stuff all over.
They pee all over you.
Yeah.
I know.
But they also secrete stuff from their glands. Do you know that? So if a dog picks up a toad and puts it in his mouth and kind of bites down, your dog's mouth will start frothing because they secrete this thing that makes dogs spit them out or animals spit them out.
Oh, is it before the fangs penetrate the skin?
I may have made that up, but I'm 90% sure I did.
Did you know when a dog wags its tail, it's not excited and moving its tail? That's not the main purpose. It's releasing pheromones to people, and the signal is I want to play. I want to play. So when it's wagging its tail at you, it's saying, hey, I'm ready to play. I'm ready to enjoy time together.
What other cool animal facts do we know?
Oh, bro.
What's the best animal fact that you know?
That is the question of, what's the hardest thing you can play on guitar? Yeah. When you go to camp and you start playing guitar, people are like, what's the hardest thing you can play? And you're like, I don't even know how to answer that.
I think it's
because I'm pretty sure like growing up it was Eruption for everybody. At least try to play Eruption.
Yeah.
I don't know the best animal fact. They only have a.
Man, all growing up, I was obsessed with cheetahs because they could run 70 miles per hour. And then I learned that they can only do that for like a very short amount of time. And then they need to sleep for days because they use all their energy. And if they didn't catch their food and they got too tired, they can die.
They can.
Because they're too tired to go get food now. But the peregrine falcon, double the speed of a cheetah. I was loving the wrong animal all growing up.
Now, here's the deal about that, though. The cheetah achieves
triple the speed.
Yeah, I think it's like 200 and something miles an hour. Now, the cheetah can achieve 70 miles an hour all on its own will and power. And the peregrine falcon it's its diving speed, so it is using gravity to achieve that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I'm more impressed with like, okay, so cool. How fast can you fall?
Well, then we need to look at the aerodynamics of the cheetah because maybe he's also cheating.
Which brings us to the next part of our show. We drop a cheetah from an airplane and we see how fast it can go falling because we think it could beat the peregrine falcon. And I'm sure it could.
There's probably lots of animals that could beat
this. You get 1,000 feet up. I mean, that cheetah's gonna be going fast.
Think about a blue whale.
Dude, so the, gravity acceleration rate is, 9.81 meters per second squared. And so that doesn't change for anybody.
That's true. I knew
so whether you're dropping a,
I knew it.
If you're dropping a Rubik's Cube or a blue whale, they're going to fall at the exact same rate, The other thing to take into account is like wind resistance. So, I mean, if you throw like a napkin out the window and a blue whale, obviously the blue whale is going to hit first. But in our instance, the cheetah and the whale would hit at the same time.
Except for the aerodynamics of the cheetah are going to speed it up to 230 miles an hour.
Yeah, but what height are we dropping the animals from?
1,000 feet.
Okay.
That's not far enough.
1,000 feet's that's pretty high. That's pretty high.
Not to get this accurate test because you're not going to reach that.
Yeah, I bet they'd reach. I don't know how fast you'd be going after 1,000 feet. I bet you're going pretty fast.
Yeah.
So, which is all we talk about today with Ryan Lerman. But before that, we want to get into band names. And if you like the content that you are receiving and you are digesting with your heart and your mind, why don't you reach down with your mouse, like and subscribe immediately.
And if you're on a phone, make sure.
What do you do if you're on a phone?
You make sure you get that mouse.
Dude,
Bluetooth connected.
I would love to Bluetooth a mouse to my phone. Yeah, that'd be great.
You can.
Can you really?
Yeah, you can. I have a mouse that can go between all of my different things. You can do a mouse.
What does this screen look like if you Bluetooth your mouse to the phone? What's on your screen? Is it a pointer show? Because there's no pointer on my iPhone screen.
Well, I'm thinking now because I have the.
That's what we need. We need to start thinking. It's a keyboard.
I have a keyboard that I can go switch it to whatever device. So if I have them all up there, but I'm pretty sure I was using my mouse. Maybe I'm not.
I don't think this is real. I think you're saying some bad information.
Go out there and buy it. It's called the Logitech. I'm just kidding.
So we are sponsored by Phone Mouse, which is the phone for your
mouse.
For your mouse.
It's the phone.
Dang it. All right, band names. Band names. What do you got today? Who are we listening to? Well, who are we going to see? Who's on tour?
Today we're going to go see, man, I don't think I've said this before.
Is that the band name? Because I don't like it.
That's a good, yeah.
Man, I don't think I've said this before.
Future Days.
Future Days.
Yeah. We got Future Days today, and they're in the electro pop, indie tronica.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the band Sports. You ever heard of them?
I have heard of Sports, yeah. We have a Songs at the Shop with Sports.
Postal Service. Yeah, all these. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Future Days.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like, one of those bands that they were really good, starting out, but then for their debut album, they had a lot of people pitched in on the songwriting and in the production and kind of ruined them. you know?
Because then that was better than anything
They made it very accessible, like Future Days, you know?
Yeah.
But you know those bands that are actually pop disguised as indie, you know?
Name one.
I feel really bad if I do. So I don't want to, but there's
pop disguised.
it's like it's pop, but it's disguised as like lo-fi indie. And I really don't want to say any names on the podcast, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But
that's them. Yeah, they're from Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Jeez. We're talking about who's from Stillwater.
This band, Future Days.
Oh, Future Days.
Yeah.
No, we got a lot of good bands. I'm from Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Oh, that's crazy.
I am. Did you know? I am. I probably know the guys
That's
from
wild.
Future Days.
Yeah.
So
Brad.
Stillwater's got some good bands coming out of it. We got Other Lives. We've got All American Rejects.
Man.
We've got Cross Canadian Ragweed, and
Yeah.
also I claim Garth Brooks.
How do you claim Garth?
Because he lived there. He lived there with his first wife, Sandy.
Yukon, come on.
I know,
Ain't no
but I
water
feel like if he had some roots down there. And so I know he's drank some of the water and put some of it back in. So there's a little bit of Garth Brooks in Stillwater still, if you know what I mean.
What's your band name?
Tom Snake.
Tom Snake. Is it a solo act or is this like a band name?
Tom Snake is, they sound different every time. So it started out as kind of like alt country, and then they like morphed. The second album, they started adding horns. You know, it was like, whoa, what is going on? Tom Snake was alt country, but now there's like a horn section. And then it was like super acoustic vibes on the junior album, like the third album. It was like, is this Tallest Man on Earth? So they're like always changing what they sound like. And you just never know what to predict from Tom Snake, which is why their fans love them, because
you never know what to expect.
Yeah. So nobody can be disappointed in any album because it's like, oh, we want you to do the old stuff. It's like, we're never going to do that stuff again. We're totally changing our name. My favorite album is the Tickle Fence Film Festival. The Tickle Fence Film Festival. And that's just so Tom Snake to just think of this long album name that is like, what does that mean? So they started out as just the Tickle Fence, and then
Tickle Fence, my bad.
That wasn't pretentious enough, so they added Film Festival at the end of it, and then that gave it that pretension notoriety that it really needed to survive. So, love Tom Snake. They were asked to play Bonnaroo, and they said no.
Wow.
So that's how cool they are. They're like, no, we're not doing that. Let's bring Ryan Lerman on and let's get his thoughts on Tom Snake before we go. Today we've got Ryan Lerman on the show, and what are you giggling about?
Speaking of AI.
Because if we were to do like an AI derived film or piece of video content starring Jeff Goldblum, we wouldn't have to use a lot of AI because you look a lot like Jeff Goldblum today. Do you get that a lot?
I get that's a popular comment on Scary Pockets videos.
Is it really?
Jeff Goldblum on the guitar, you know.
Oh man,
so this is like a D.
Jack gets Vsauce, I get Jeff Goldblum.
Man,
you just ruined this.
So I just want to start out apologizing to you, I guess. So I thought I was pulling
Best way to
out
start.
some
Apology accepted.
I know. I thought.
Hey, Jeff Goldblum's an attractive guy. I'm not mad at that.
I will say you're better looking than Jeff Goldblum too.
Oh, stop it.
Way better.
What movie though?
I would say he's more of like a younger John Travolta, Jeff Goldblum mix.
Yeah. So how good looking?
Wow.
How good looking do you think you are?
Yeah, no, I get this question a lot.
Oh my gosh.
I would say, you know, I'm a solid for a guitar player. You know,
I would
5
say
or 6.
I would say it's pretty. I'd say 5 or 6 is not generous enough for a guitar player.
Yeah.
Because you got ugly guys. You got really ugly guys. Like, name some ugly guitar players that we're friends with. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Man.
All right. So,
Yeah.
You're a really interesting individual to have on the show because you've got your hands in multiple arenas of the art of music. And a lot of it, there is this new uprising in guitar playing / musicianship with just the accessibility, I think, of like music equipment, great video. And I think just in general, musicians are getting better because we're able to watch and learn from more musicians constantly. And so the level of musicianship and art, I think, is rising, and you're part of that. And so thank you for making inspiring videos like Scary Pockets. But I would like to kind of hear, that's kind of where we're at today, but I would like to hear more about like where you're from, because you have a podcast, but you don't get to talk about like where you're from and all your backstory.
Right.
I kind of want to get a gist of like where you're from and where like music training and working out your ear and your theory, where all that kind of started and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So yeah, where are you from, man?
I'm from LA. I was born here. And when I was 8 or so, my family moved up to the Bay Area to Marin County. And that's where I went to high school. That's where I met Jack, my Pockets partner.
Yeah.
We went to high school together. And then I came back down to LA for college. I went to USC. Did you go there?
No, I'm doing LA and then I'm doing
Okay.
Marin County and then I'm doing LA.
You were pointing at yourself.
No. I did not go to USC. I've seen it before. I've seen him play ball.
Nice.
Yeah.
Went to USC for studio jazz guitar, studio / jazz guitar.
Okay.
And then moved to Newport Beach after that. My grandparents had a house in Newport Beach, and I was touring kind of right out of school. And so I would be touring most of the time, and then when I was home, I would stay with my grandparents so I didn't have to pay rent.
Yeah.
And I did that until I was 28. I lived with them for quite a long time, toured a lot.
What a great grandson. What a nice guy.
Honestly, if you'd met my grandparents, I was the lucky one. They were just the greatest.
That's awesome.
And then I moved here to back to LA when I was 30.
Yeah.
28, 30, something like that.
Touring. So I've went through the All Music on you just a little bit. And I saw some names I really liked. Like Ben Folds. So
yeah,
talk to me a little bit how you got connected with Ben and was that a positive experience?
It was the most positive experience.
Yeah.
I have nothing but amazing things to say about Ben. I met Ben through Jack, actually. Jack and Ben spoke at a music tech conference, and then Ben asked Jack if he'd want to do a song together. This is in the height of Jack's band Pomplamoose. And they did a collaboration. Ben's bass player had just quit, and he asked Jack if Jack would want to come tour with Ben and play bass. And Jack wasn't looking to tour at that point and said, I can't, but you should get my friend Ryan to play bass.
Yeah.
And then Jack called me and told me that he'd recommended me. And I said, I don't play bass. And Jack said, yeah, but I don't play bass. He asked me to do it. If he thinks I can do it, then you can definitely do it. And I had just done a tour with A Fine Frenzy where, do you guys know that band, A Fine Frenzy?
Yep.
Yeah. And I had auditioned, and she didn't like any of the bass players. So what ended up happening in that band was my good friend Omar Velasco, it was the other guitar player.
Yeah.
And she had just asked us, like, can you guys just take turns and play bass? Neither of us played bass. So I had just come out of that situation where, like, I played bass on a couple of songs. Like I didn't own a bass. I just like learned what was on the record and
Sure.
and so I guess I was a step up from never having touched a bass before, but yeah, so I spoke to Ben and lied like all good musicians do,
Sure. Yeah.
and said, "Oh yeah, I play bass,
Buddy.
and
Once or twice.
and he said, well, Jack recommended you. Jack's a great musician, so I'm sure you're great. I don't really do auditions, so you got the gig. The tour starts in 4 months, and we don't rehearse either. So
This sounds
And
awesome.
I mean, there's so much just like freedom playing
man.
with him. I would think
So
too.
much
Just,
freedom.
like, go everywhere. I would think.
yeah. So that was a pretty formative experience because I like to like tunnel vision, deep dive into stuff, and
Sure.
it was a fun opportunity to I just went to Guitar Center and got a bass and an amp that day.
It's great.
And
What'd you get?
and I got a white jazz bass.
Jazz guy. Okay, cool.
I think it was a jazz bass. And then I ended up getting Fender sent me like a road worn, like it was like a $600 bass, and that's the one I used for that whole gig pretty much. But yeah, the guy before me, Jared, was using a jazz bass. So, or no, was he? I think he was. Anyways,
Yeah.
I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I had just teched for Justin Meldal Johnson, who was playing with Burden the Bee at the Bowl.
Oh yeah.
And my friend, I wanted to go see the show, and my friend was doing front of house, and he said, "I can't get you a ticket, but if you want to be Justin's tech, you can come." And so I just like set up all this shit, and
Sounds good.
He looked so cool, and he that I just took a picture of his pedal board, his rig, and I copied it to a T. I got exactly his pedal board.
Dig it.
I got exactly his rig, and I showed up to like sound check with Ben with like all this gear, and Ben looked at my board and he's like, "You don't need that." And he's like, "Here," and he went and got me a Big Muff and a tuner, and he's like, "Here you go. Don't use these pedals."
Yes.
That's amazing.
And
man.
it was terrifying. I was terrified for the next like 6 months of playing with him. I thought every show would be my last show. But he's just the greatest, man. I can't say enough nice things about Ben. It was like one of the most fun touring experiences in terms of like, they say like the 3 M's, like money, mates, music, are the key for like good touring. And I was young enough, and like money was totally fine. I just didn't care. I was young enough as to where it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
And the music and the people were just the greatest, and Ben was the greatest. So I was in heaven.
Man. So on this tour, what's the band member count? I mean, is it Ben piano, you're playing bass, drums, anything
There was
else?
5 of us.
Okay.
Which was ironic because it was Ben Folds 5 was 3 people.
Yeah.
So there was one guy who played percussion, Chad.
Yeah.
Chad Chapin, and Sam Smith was playing drums. Andrew Higley was playing French horn and aux keyboards. I was playing bass, and Ben was playing piano.
Man, there's not a lot of places for you to hide on that,
No, yeah, it was terrifying.
You gotta, that would make me terrified, Man, so what years was that? And what were you guys supporting certain albums, or what was going on with that?
Yeah, that was the album was called Lonely Avenue.
Yeah.
It was probably 2010 to 2013.
Yeah.
Kind of that phase.
Yeah. And then, so how did Michael Bublé work its way into this also?
That came about after Folds. Like we did 1 or 2 tours, and then I was home and I had just put out my first like solo record, which I had been releasing kind of one song whenever I got around to it.
Yeah.
And then once I had 15 or so, I just put it out, and nothing really happened. I was like 25, was still living with my grandparents. My girl, I had kind of run out of my touring money at that point. Just like paying for meals for like my girlfriend and I. And I remember having this very disheartening conversation, my girlfriend, where I was like, do you think we could maybe like split meals for a while? Like, would that be okay? And I just remember she was like, yeah, I mean, like, I think the guy should pay for the meals, but like, if you need me to, like, yeah, it's fine for a little while. And I was like,
For a little while.
probably not the right girl, but
Yeah, this sounds like a.
but yeah, so I was in a like kind of a rough place, and then that gig came about, and I did the audition, thinking that I shouldn't take it. I was quite like, I just felt like, no, I have to keep pushing on and just like nose to the grindstone and just make my own records.
So right here, how old are you at this stage?
25.
Okay, and so at 25 for you at this stage, what is the goal? I know the goal today is probably a lot different, you know, the vision, but at 25, what was the goal?
The goal was just to be like touring and making records that I was proud of. Honestly, just making records that I loved. And just like, I felt like I wanted to realize my potential as just like a songwriter and one who records their own music.
Yeah.
And so that's what I felt like I should be doing. It's just like,
which kind of paints the I don't want to have to take this Bublé gig.
Yeah, I felt like it was an out.
Yeah,
and
I get it.
And that, like, I don't know. I went to school with Louis Cole.
Louis I can look in my phone real quick. But
Louis is a drummer. He's an artist. And we were in a band together in college. We were roommates in college, and one of my favorite people, one of my favorite musicians, and he and Jack and I, Jack also best friend. The three of us used to tour together in college. And to me, those were my two best friends and North Stars, as far as like, these people are just relentlessly hardworking. And I've just tried to keep up with them my whole life.
Sure.
And so to me, the touring sideman thing always felt like a fun distraction and a way to support myself. But not the thing that I really ever like aspired to do. I never wanted to be like a lifelong touring musician. I just felt like, okay, this is a fun way to make money while I'm, just making records.
Okay, so you get the gig though, obviously.
So I got the gig, and then they never like asked me, like, once I got it, like, if I wanted to do it. It was just like assumed that I would. And then a guy
show up at 8.
Yeah, and then a guy came to my grandparents' house to like fit me for a suit, and I was like, "You guys gonna give me a suit?"
Okay.
I was like, "Well, I get a suit and I get in-ears."
Oh man, it's like half as good as being in a groomsman party,
Yeah, and I had never made that much money before, like, and I didn't have any, so that was a big. It was all just a bit too alluring, and so I got sucked into it, and I ended up learning a ton, and I don't regret anything. But I ended up doing that gig for 5 years.
Yeah, and you also got to you're on the liner notes of a lot of the records as well. Did you play?
I did some. I ended up writing 2 or 3 songs with Bublé, and playing on some of the records, and it was great.
Yeah,
I mean,
which is amazing. I mean, a lot of these headlining acts. Not a lot. I don't know what percentage. I'll have to look at the stats, but I mean, some of them, and some of the record labels don't trust the touring band to really come and sit in the studio and make the record.
Rightly so.
So when the touring band gets to play on the record, I think that's pretty awesome. It's testament to your talent. I liked seeing that.
Was he using his touring band, all of them?
No,
or was it?
No, I mean, I think Bob I'm trying to think which records I'm on. I think Bob Rock was producing when I started, and then the next record, Bublé kind of produced with Alan Chang, his longtime piano player, music director, and Jason Goldman, who was like a teacher at USC when I was there. And so, yeah, Alan is one of my best friends. And so he was cool about, like, asking me to play on stuff. And the stuff that anything I wrote with Bublé was kind of facilitated by Alan. Alan was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I owe probably mostly Alan for all of that.
Hey, let's just take a sec. Say thanks, Alan. Alan, Philip,
I'd like to take a second
tell Alan
really
thanks.
pay my respects to Mr. Chang.
Yeah, thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
So, and then also in the notes, and then I'll leave you alone about credits and things like that. But Van Morrison, I saw that in there. I thought that was pretty fun.
I think that was because I don't remember exactly the situation, but we did that on tour when I was with Bublé. Bob Rock, I think, was producing like some Van Morrison record, and he just came out and recorded the Bublé band for a song.
That's cool.
That's how that happened.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then, okay, I said I would stop, but I also saw Party Time Karaoke on the All Music list. What
is that?
It's on your credits. It's on All Music. It says Party Time.
Down. I have no idea what that is.
TYME Party Time Karaoke.
No way.
Multiple albums, not just one.
Dude.
So,
no way.
No,
maybe
I'm serious.
Somebody thinks that's what Scary Pockets is.
It might be.
All Music. I have no idea.
But yeah, no Kids Bop. I didn't see any Kids Bop, but I was.
Not yet.
If you're in that lane, I was like, that's what's next. I mean, that's what
I don't know.
That's
about
where the
Party
money's at. Okay, I love it. Okay, so backtracking just a little bit, Pomplamoose. I feel like that was one of the first times I was watching like a song being born on video. And so, like, I'm watching like when the kick comes in, and I'm like, oh, cool. And then when adding the Rhodes in, and like, oh, that's tight, and just all the video angles, and it was a very beautiful way to like engage in the song in a new way, and it didn't hurt that everybody was a fantastic musician. Did that kind of channel its way and give energy into Scary Pockets somehow? And how did all the Scary Pocket stuff start up?
Yeah, well, they were very closely related. I mean, just because of Jack. So Jack was my my big brother in high school. The seniors got paired up with freshmen, and he was a senior and I was a freshman.
Yeah,
he was my senior buddy, and we started making music together pretty quickly. And he started Pomplamoose with his wife Natalie after school, and that kind of took off. And Jack is just like, he's the real deal. He's just relentlessly innovative and hardworking. And so Pomplamoose was one innovation, which was sort of like the video song was what he called them. It was a thing that like people kind of had been doing before Jack started doing it, but he kind of branded it. You know what I mean? He called it video song and made up rules, and he was doing that for his own music before he started doing it with Natalie with Pomplamoose. And Pomplamoose was just a thing, although his own thing, like it was doing well before Pomplamoose. It's just Pomplamoose kind of took off. And then that kind of had a nice run of success, and then they took a break, and then Jack started Patreon, and then Scary Pockets grew out of I was 30. I had kind of realized like, okay, I kind of want to stop touring, and Jack was in Patreon world doing just like a gajillion hours a week, no time to make music, hadn't published anything in years, and was getting quite bogged down. And we went for a walk after my 30th birthday party, and he presented me with this deck that was like, I had been hanging out with, right.
I have a presentation.
It was literally a deck, typical Jack fashion.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I had become good friends with the guys from Wolfpack. So in the year or two prior, I'd started hanging out with Theo a bunch and Jack Stratton, and they had recorded one of my songs in a way that was just like everybody in the same room, no monitoring, do a couple takes, boom, song is done in a matter of an hour or whatever. And so that was quite a revelation for me, who had been toiling away, spending friggin' 1,000 hours on every song. It's like, oh, you can just do this very quick, and it's actually kind of better. And so I had that kicking around, and Jack came to me with this idea of, what if we did like Wolfpack meets Postmodern Jukebox, and we get together once a month and we record 4 songs and release them once a week. And I just said, shit, yeah, let's do it. And a month later, if that, we had our first session, and then a month after that, the songs started coming out, and they were just like, the third or fourth one, I think, was a song called Creep. And it got 10 million views in like a week. And it was like it kind of went off, and ever since that, it was like, oh, we have a band now. This is cool. And we've just been trying to keep the fire stoked.
I love it.
Is that still the same? You meet once a month, write 4 songs, or are you all meeting more often? Or
it's stayed. I mean, the biggest constraint which remains is Jack's time. So Jack only has 1 day a month. We only get Jack 1 day a month.
Wow.
And so that's the constraint within which we have to work. And so we meet once a month, we record 4 songs, and we release them once a week. There's a couple exceptions, like if we miss a month, sometimes we'll try to do 2 days some other month. But generally that's the formula.
That's wild.
Talk to me about who's in this band, Scary Pockets.
Scary Pockets is we kind of think about it as a like a media company now, like Pockets Inc. Because Pockets is this rotating cast of whoever is in the session. I mean, Jack and I are kind of the main characters that are in almost all of the videos, but there's been over, I think, 300 or 400 people in the videos at this point. Wow. And then we started iterating. So Pockets Inc. has Scary Pockets. We have a acoustic covers channel called Stories. We have a originals, instrumental funk originals band with Larry Goldings called Scary Goldings. And then we've started doing these like Pockets Presents albums. We did an album with our friend Swatkins, who does the Talkbox, and we did an album with him and a German big band that's all like Talkbox big band music. And then we did an album with David Ryan Harris. Pockets Presents David Ryan Harris. Do you guys know him?
Yes.
Love him. Yeah, he's great.
And so it's just sort of been this vehicle and this platform for just like throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and trying things with people we love.
So the what I think is interesting is all the different directions and the vine that's grown out of this. Are you concerned with so people who listen to this are mostly probably musicians, this podcast. So when you're doing all this content, are you concerned about like revenue streams and how to capitalize on your time? Or are you more concerned with the process, or are you holding both holding one or the other in both hands and trying to find a balance? Or because it's taking up a lot of your time, and you got to pay the bills. I don't think you're living with your grandparents anymore, but
nope, I don't live with my grandparents.
So how do you manage that and figure all that out?
Great question. Well, I would just like to point out what you didn't ask in that question, which was, are you more concerned with revenue streams or the process? You didn't say the product, the output, which I think is very wise. I think people, there are different strategies for creation, and some are output based and some are process based. And I think a lot of people, myself included, get caught up in the importance of the thing that you put out. And to me, the revelation with Pockets is that's not important. I mean, we pay attention to like how well things do and metrics and like if people like, the things that we're putting out, but most of the focus is on the process. And I think that to me was a revelation, is like, oh, this is a machine that we get to tinker with. And like we put stuff out so much, some of it will be good, some of it won't be as good, some of it will resonate. And a lot of times those aren't correlated, those three things. The thing that we think is going to be great, we love, that doesn't resonate. The thing that we almost didn't put out because we thought it wasn't good is the thing that resonates. So it is sort of an exercise in focusing on the process and not being sort of output focused. That having been said, because of Jack's business savvy and his experience with just like company building, we got to a point where, I mean, Pockets for the first 2 years was all just like, it was all Jack and I splitting all the expenses, and we were in the red. We would just lose more and more money every month. And then about year 3, I think, we realized that like, okay, like every 6 months we basically hit a wall where we like kind of stop, growth becomes stagnant. And we have to change something in order to like try to find something else that resonates. And at one point Jack said, I think our next step up is team. And we really started like trying to find people that would help sort of augment our thing. So we started working with Caleb Parker, who has been our engineer and mixed most Scary Pockets videos, along with Craig Pelasco. But Caleb started with us, year 2 or something. Yeah. And Ricky Chavez does our video. And we just started building a team and like an organization around the process. We have Rachel McGowan, who is a full-time employee, and she runs operations for Scary Pockets. So she oversees the pipeline, and there's about 10 to 20 other sort of regular contributors that aren't full-time, but they sort of participate in the machine that is Scary Pockets. So yeah, very much. I mean, all of that stuff is we're pretty aware of. Like, we have a meeting every month where Rachel presents to us a deck that's basically like, how is Pockets doing across every metric? How was our bank account look like? What are our expenses? How's all the like class-based stuff? Like, how's the touring business doing? So we're super focused on process still, but we also have our fingers on the pulse of like, how is the business doing? And what are our revenue streams, and how do we make those as diverse as possible? So totally. we think about all that stuff.
So I think it's interesting. So you said about every 6 months things kind of stall out, which I think in business is very normal. But how do you guys, we call it hitting the ceiling of complexity. It's right. Like, okay, people loved what we were doing for a period of time, and now they're used to it. So we got bills to pay, and we've got, people's insurance policies to keep up and stuff like that. So we all right, what are we going to do next? What does it look like for you guys to kind of brainstorm and talk about that? Do you guys do that as a wide group, or is it just you and Jack? Like, who do you put in the room, and is there a process to it, or?
Totally. Well, we have weekly meetings. So Jack and I and Rachel meet every week for 30 minutes. And that's, when we look at the decks once a month, and when we have these weekly meetings, they're usually a result of like, how are Jack and I feeling about the process? How do we feel about the last session? And also like, what do views look like? Are we starting to stagnate? Do we need to try something? And we'll have just brainstorm sessions about like, what are all the ways that we can iterate and add variety into, like, what are all the things we could try? So, at the outset, it was like just Jack and I, two musicians, different singers, and a tripod. That was it. And we were mixing everything ourselves. The videos were just one take. And then it was like, well, we could try investing in video. I know this guy, Ricky, he could come film, and we could change up the camera approach. Yeah. We'd see a little bump after that. And that would last about 6 months. And then it was like, well, we could try having someone else mix it. Like maybe if it sounded better, like that would be exciting to people. Yeah. And then that would be another bump. And then it's like, well, we could try horns. We've never done something with horns. We could get some horns and see if that would give us a bump. And then it's like background singers. And okay, what if we did like electronic music? What if we got like SPD pad and we tried to introduce some element of like electro funk into the equation, and we had like pumping compression, and that would give us a bump. So it's literally just been 5 or 6 years of that. Like, what if we had someone build us a set? What if we did like a day on a set so the videos looked just radically different? It's kind of like you only have, working within the realm of YouTube, you have like the thumbnail and you have the title. And that's kind of all you have to get people, to hook people. Yeah. So we would play with like different titles and different looking thumbnails, and just constantly trying to
figure out the machine.
To find ways to like keep us interested. Yeah,
what does it want?
Yeah, and to keep people feeling like they're on a ride with us. Yeah. And that we're just trying stuff.
Yeah. What was the moment through all that where you kind of sat back, and maybe you were in a session or maybe you were in a meeting where you kind of realized, hey, this is like a thing. This is like a brand. When was that? And what was that like?
That's a good question. Well, the first time I had that feeling was after that Creep video came out. It went kind of viral. Like that was the first time I had kind of been a part of something where I remember going to see like a Blake Mills show or something the week after that. And all these people were like coming up to me at the show, and then they had seen the video. Yeah. And that was my first experience with that feeling of like, I did something or was a part of something that was put out there, and like, wow, people know about this. Like people have seen this. We can do more of this. So that was kind of like, that was the first time I had that feeling. And then it's been just a steady experience of constantly being surprised that like people have kind of heard, more and more about what we've been up to. Yeah.
So you said 300 musicians, which is a lot. Are you meeting some of these people for the first time at the session, or do you have prior relations with some of these people already?
For the first couple of years, it was, well, that's not true. On the very first couple of sessions, it started out as just like my friends and people that I toured with, but pretty quickly I like ran out of singers to call, and so I would ask friends for recommendations, and they'd send me, friends of theirs or friends of friends, and I would check them out. And so a lot of the singers that we've now worked with a lot, I had met for the first time at the sessions. Yeah. And it sort of is an expansion of my friend group and then their friends and friends of friends.
Yeah. And is that easy to book? I bet who's it? Rachel is the other person's name?
Rachel.
I bet Rachel's doing most of that. But do you find a lot of complexity having to go through like labels and getting permissions and all that kind of stuff? Or is it pretty much like community based and I'll do it, I'm down?
It's pretty much that. We kind of found that, like, I mean, some people run their business or are beholden to that machine where it's like you have to go jump through a bunch of hoops. And what we've found is, like, I mean, we've done that. Like, we try to just be as easy as we possibly can. And like this whole thing is built on trying to get back at the man for like the ways that the man has wronged us as musicians over the years.
Yeah.
And just feeling like, man, I just hate negotiations. Every time I've had to like talk to somebody's manager and try to like fight for why I should like get paid, or like, I just hate all of that. Yeah. And really, I mean, I can't overstate the impact and the genius of Jack Stratton, who runs Wolfpack, because the way that he's the organization and like the band, the company that he's built is so generous towards everybody involved that the feeling when I became like a small part of that, the way that made me feel was so powerful and so it went so against the way that I had felt in every gig up until that point, that I was like, oh, we need to, like, I want to give other people this feeling. I want to help propagate the thing that Jack is doing and try to find a model that's based on just like lifting people up and being generous. And so that's kind of like what we've strived to do, and so all of our sort of dealings are in the spirit of like, listen, like, we're trying to just build a thing, and like, we want to pay you as much as we possibly can. We want you to be, but we don't have like lawyers. We don't really. I mean, now we have a lawyer, but we don't have the infrastructure.
Yeah,
we don't have the infrastructure to invest in like complicated deals for everybody that's like a part of this. It's just like, it's very simple. Here's like the way that we do things, and like, if this works for you, awesome. And so yeah, when we've encountered situations that are more complicated, we kind of tried our best to make them work. But also the kind of the beautiful thing that we found about Pockets is that videos with more well-known singers, like famous people, don't do any better than videos without famous people. You know what I mean? It's more to do with the spirit in the room and the arrangement and like the just luck of the moment, like what song people happen to be searching for at the time. So it's sort of like, whoever this fancy person is, that like might have more hoops to jump through. It's like, if they want to do it, awesome. But if it doesn't work out, like, totally, it doesn't bum us out too much.
And I think that makes a lot of sense and I'm not looking at your demographics, but, I think part of the beauty of Wolfpack, early on was that it was music for musicians, So you're like listening to it, and we listen to music and it made for radio or just, made to perform, and you kind of start figuring out. I mean, you run Dead Wax, so you've fully aware, but you kind of just start figuring out like what they're doing. You're like, okay, yeah, okay, and then they're doing that, and that's coming in here, and I bet they're gonna like go to the 4 right there and then resolve. But the Wolfpack, it's always like, oh, what are they going to do next? The first time you listen to it, it's like, it's like unpredictable. It's like, I didn't know they were going to do that, And I feel like, Scary Pockets is for sure in that exact same vein of like, it's music for musicians. So it makes sense where it's like, I don't really care who's singing. I just want to see these guys play, I want to hear some good vocalists, want to see some good instrumentalists, you know? Do you find that like most of your audience is at least versed in some sort of like musicality or knowledge of?
Yeah, it's a musical audience for sure. At the shows, I mean, we've sort of prodded a bit over the years to try to figure out like how much of our audience is musicians.
Yeah.
And I think I mean, at some point we thought it was about 35 to 40%.
Yeah.
Which I think, you know, and I'll ask people when we play shows how many musicians are in the crowd. And yeah, it's like, I would say about 40% or so musicians. There seems to have been
that's a good way to get data. Just everybody just raise your hand.
Yeah.
Just ask the question.
I mean, Congress is still doing it, so
right.
Yeah.
What we started finding on these tours is there's Pockets cover bands. And like multiple Pockets cover bands at every show.
Yeah.
There's like the bands that are covering our covers. And so we'll go out after the shows.
I love it.
And there's one show where like these people came up and they're like, we are in a Scary Pockets, a cover band. And this is...
That's great.
Yeah. And then there was people on this side like, we are in a Scary Pockets cover band. And these two Pockets German cover bands were like meeting for the first time. It was adorable.
That's so
amazing.
Great. That is so great. Imagine that. That's Inception right there.
I would say something
Covers
like,
of covers.
just typically whenever I hear they're a band for musicians or they're, you know, I don't feel like it. A lot of bands that are like that, they don't really reach outside of that as much. It's more of like, oh, this is technical and really cool and I really enjoy it. But like, I think what you and Wolfpack have done is it's tasteful for everybody. It's something that anybody can consume and really appreciate. And so, yeah, I think that's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. I think there's an element, maybe a shared emphasis on just like not taking ourselves too seriously and just kind of
you can tell you're enjoying
around.
Yeah, that's a good podcast question. So do you like it? Wouldn't that be great? We should do podcasts, but like host it like really bad.
We should. Maybe that's what we're doing right now.
I mean,
I don't know.
Jack and I have been doing it for a couple of years now. It seems.
Yeah, right.
It's work.
It's like the Chris Farley, Paul McCartney interview, you know?
I haven't seen that.
I want to watch it. Is that Between Two Ferns?
No, it's like Chris Farley and it's like Paul McCartney and he's just asking questions like, do you remember when you were in the Beatles? And he's like, yeah. And Chris Farley just like, yeah, that was awesome. And it's
great.
It's for sure classic. It's a great podcast template if anybody is looking for one. No, so anyway, I think what you're doing is fantastic. I want to keep doing it. I want you to keep doing it. I want to keep munching on it and consuming it as a Scary Pockets consumer. Just kind of looking forward. Is this Ryan's path forward? Is this the big dream, or is this like moving on, or do you see this growing into something else, or what are you thinking?
Good question. It's been I mean, I love being a part of Pockets. For me, I struggled in solo production, singer, songwriter, artist world for so many years. So, struggling in obscurity. And so to be a part of something that's musical and entrepreneurial and team-based, and where it's like more about it's just less me, you know what I mean? It's more about just like building a platform where I can do as little as possible and make something with the people that I love the most, all these friends, has been super rewarding. So I think continuing to iterate on that, and Jack and I have so many ideas about different things we want to try and different things we want to do. As long as the world will have that, I would love to keep working on it. Still I feel like my life now is a bit of like a three-pronged situation where it's like Pockets is pretty full-time, and then there's my solo records that I just can't help but make. So I just continue writing and putting out music, and then producing for other people, and writing with other people. So yeah, they all kind of feed each other, and I still love touring with other people and doing sideman stuff whenever that comes up and works out in the calendar. So yeah, it's I just try and stay as busy as possible so I don't have to confront my feelings.
We had a guest on. His name's Andy Osenga, and he said something really interesting. He's like, I have to keep making solo records so that when I am producing for other people, I'm not forcing them to make my record. Do you find that to be true also?
No.
Okay. So I don't know if I'd be able to do it. I'd be like, oh, you should for sure put Big Muff on the overheads on this part.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think I want to do that. It's like, well, I think you do, you know?
No, I mean, I guess you'd have to ask the people I produce, but I don't think that's the...
Okay, cool,
I don't
great.
think that's the case. I feel like...
But you make solo records, so who would even know? Maybe you should stop making solo records, and then, then we'd see. Then we'd really see Ryan.
But it's an important outlet for sure. To me, I like having all three of those things. There's like, the solo records give me an ability for just like relentless indulgence where I can just like take as long as I want and overthink and do all the things I probably shouldn't do. Pockets forces you into just like making as much stuff as in as little time as possible, and then the production satisfies like a different sort of a different urge to kind of combine the two things, where it's like, okay, this isn't my thing, like I'm in service of somebody else and their vision, but it's like if I'm sort of trying to figure out like whatever's needed of me in this instance in order to make something happen and be released into the world, so it's sort of like you're trying whatever the thing needs, whatever the artist needs. I can sort of use things from the other two genres to supplement, the situation.
That's amazing. And you speak it like you have it all together. I think I would fall apart, but it's really great. You must have a really good time management system. So congratulations.
Google Calendar.
Yeah.
I use Todoist. Is a good
write that down. Todoist. Is that an app?
Is an app where it's just basically like a to-do list, and you can have like shared to-do lists with like different people, and it's a good way to keep track of things across different projects.
Okay, cool. Write that down. I'll ask you this question, and then I'll let you go. You sound super busy. Do you guys use any like management system to run like the back end like management of Scary Pockets? I know there's like a lot of like management ideologies. There's books like Good to Great, or there's like the EOS system, or all that stuff. Do you guys use some of that, and do you find that fruitful for kind of running the brand?
I love Good to Great. That's a great book.
Yeah.
Getting Things Done is also a good one for people interested in systems and time management. We now use Airtable. We used to use Asana, but now we use a combination of Airtable.
There's no Gantt charts in Asana. I can't do it. I'm out.
Yeah, Asana never clicked with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Airtable and Dropbox is, that's the combination of those two things are what we kind of live on.
I love it. That's amazing.
And Slack.
Hey,
Slack.
Gotta have it.
Slack life is where it's at.
Yeah. We use that internally here. We also don't use the premium version, and so we get into fights. It's like, that is not what I said. Look on the Slack, and then you scroll up and it's gone, so nobody can like
oh my god,
because they disappear after like 30-60 days, so we should just
really,
or if too many people are sending messages in Slack, it just starts to slowly take them away from certain channels. That's what's happening.
Really?
Like, yeah, can I get your approval on this?
Yeah.
Click on
it. I mean, if this if anyone from the company Slack is watching this, I mean, they need to extend some sort of special limited time offer to you guys.
Thank you so much.
Man.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm putting that energy out into the world. I want you guys to be fully. By the next time we talk, I want you guys to have. You owe it to yourself. A full version of Slack.
If Oracle's listening, also we'd love a discount. So
there you go.
Okay, before I let you go, best Christmas movie of all time. What is it?
Best Christmas movie.
There's one right answer, but we'll see if you know it.
Elf.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
That's my favorite.
We get Elf a lot.
I think it's my favorite because it's the best.
Now, sometimes we talk about this all the time. Is like sometimes like the best Christmas movie doesn't have to be your favorite Christmas movie.
Home Alone's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's a Christmas movie,
fantastic. Yeah. It's like the best Radiohead album is usually not your favorite Radiohead album. It's kind of like that.
And it's hard for me to pick my favorite Radiohead album.
It's hard for everybody, and and this is the one where there is one wrong answer. Like I always you can't say that one.
Yeah.
For me,
what's the wrong answer?
For me, it's Pablo Honey. If you say Pablo Honey is my favorite Radiohead album, it's just like, listen,
it's just not.
I know the kind of person that you are, and I know that we'd meet at a party, and that is the only time we talk. So
yeah.
I'm a hail to the thief guy.
You might be right about that.
Yeah.
Might be right about that.
My favorite's Pablo Honey.
Oh,
no.
God.
Yeah. No.
I recommend you guys a good couples therapist.
Yeah. Listen, I used to work with a girl, and she's like, I love Radiohead. And I was like, what's your favorite album? She's like, Pablo Honey. And I was like, interesting.
Press the eject.
And then she ended up being a psychopath. So
there it is.
That's great.
That's a good litmus test.
It is. Hey, thanks for being
Wait, what's your favorite Christmas movie?
I think for me it's Christmas Vacation.
I
haven't seen that.
Oh man.
Really? You've not seen Chevy Chase Christmas Vacation?
No.
Okay. I don't know where to start.
I'm gonna cancel the rest of my day, and I'm gonna go watch it.
It's good anytime. It's the fun. Okay. It's the funniest one. And here's the deal: you're gonna run it through the first time. It's like a Wilco album. It's like first run through is like, that was pretty good, and then you do it again, and you're like, okay, I'm really picking up on this. And then after years and years of Christmas Vacation, it kind of just becomes one of the books of the Bible to you,
What's your favorite Wilco album?
Probably Ghost is Born. There's just, for me, there's a lot. Yeah. For me personally, it's like a pivot shift, with Nels coming in, and there's a lot of like fresh, funky Nels energy, and I feel like it just kind of brought everybody to just in a different. Everybody's painting with different paints on that album, and so it's kind of fun to hear like the new the vibe of whatever they're doing. It's just
the first time I heard that, and I heard Nels without knowing anything. I hated it. I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with this guitar?"
It sounds selfish.
Like, what's going on with this vibrato? Like that's not. Has this guy never heard Eric Clapton? It's like that's not how you do a vibrato.
Tell me about it.
And now I'm just like the biggest Nels fan. I just love him. But
talk about your own lane. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a Sky Blue Sky guy myself.
Mm-hmm.
But mad respect.
Yeah, that's great.
Respect for the craft. I love Wilco.
That's a good person to have on Dead Wax.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to the Dead Wax relaunch and all that stuff. So if you're listening, go back and listen to all the ones you didn't listen to, and then follow it. You won't be disappointed. And then go and digest every Scary Pockets video and Spotify song out there. Dude, thanks for being on today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me. So nice to meet you and to talk to you.
This is awesome.
You too.
Yeah. Let's do it again tomorrow.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right, cool. See you, Ryan.